rallies.
Welcome to #PHVote 2013. Today on Rappler. After 16 years, the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front signed the final annex in the talks, paving the way for signing a peace agreement. Soldiers attack breakaway units of the MILF hours after the firearms deal is signed. And protesters occupy the Justice Ministry in Ukraine. Hello, I'm Ayi Makaraig, sitting in for Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. After 16 years, a peace agreement to end decades of fighting in Mindanao is a signature away. On Saturday, the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front end the 43rd round of talks in Malaysia with a firearms deal, the final annex in the peace talks, and one of the most sensitive issues that needed to be addressed before a peace agreement can be signed. Both sides now enter the crucial phase of moving from the negotiating table to ground implementation. Angela Kasaway reports.
16 years. That's how long it took the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front to close the peace talks that aim to end 4 decades of Muslim insurgency in Mindanao. On the 43rd round of formal negotiations, both sides signed a historic firearms deal that paves the way for the signing of a final peace agreement.
All the agreements are all substantive and very important and very, very hard. But the issue of normalization is the most sensitive, emotional, and as far as I know, it entails a lot of sacrifices on the part of the MILF, because to pay for peace, real peace in Mindanao, we have to decommission our forces.
The event is marked by a joyous celebration by former foes.
I think the most difficult part of the negotiation on the Bangsamoro waters is convincing our counterpart to agree with us.
But then thankfully we agreed with each other.
Under the Annex on Normalization, the MILF will decommission its forces and put them beyond use. Where will rebel firearms go? How many troops and arms will be decommissioned? The deal does not specify for now. A separate independent decommissioning body will be convened to conduct an inventory of MILF arms and troops, as well as recommend the most appropriate way of dealing with rebel firearms. The agreement also grants amnesty to MILF troops. But the path to lasting peace in Mindanao does not end here.
Basically, it marks the beginning, the end of a process, which is the formal negotiations, the effective end, of course, with some more finishing touches here and there that will be necessary, but it also marks the beginning of the bigger challenge ahead, which is the bigger challenge of implementation.
As peace in Mindanao spreads, the government will also fulfill its commitment to pull out troops and disband private armed groups. Both sides acknowledge peace in Mindanao will not be achieved overnight. The next challenge is to pass the basic law that would provide a legal framework for the new political entity and to hold a plebiscite where provinces in Mindanao would choose whether to be included in the Bangsamoro or not. We now have to wait and see whether they will meet their target to install the new Bangsamoro government by 2016, before President Aquino steps down from office. Angela Kasaway, Rappler, Kuala Lumpur.
With the landmark firearms deal signed, how is the MILF preparing for a post-war environment? MILF Chief Negotiator Mohaguer Iqbal says once a peace deal is signed, the MILF will cease to exist as an armed group and start positioning itself as a social movement. Iqbal says the group will no longer use the force of arms to achieve its objective as it gets more democratic. As part of the normalization process, several rebel camps will be transformed into peaceful and productive communities. Socio-economic programs will also be made available to help former rebels. The government will also grant amnesty to MILF troops charged with or convicted of crimes connected to the armed conflict in Mindanao. To oversee the normalization process, several coordinating bodies composed of government and MILF representatives will be created. The timetable of the process will be released upon the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. Hours after the government and the MILF signed the normalization annex, fighting erupts in Maguindanao between soldiers and members of MILF breakaway group Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters or BIFF. BIFF spokesman Abu Misri Mama says one of their units was attacked by army troops in Sultan Sabarongis town around 10 a.m. Sunday. Regional military spokesman Dixon Hermoso says the MILF is helping the military run after the BIFF. Led by Ameril Umrakato, the BIFF splintered from the MILF after serious disagreements about the peace negotiations with the government. After the signing of the normalization annex, the military promised to stop what it calls spoilers of the peace process, groups staging violent attacks to oppose the agreement. These include MILF rival group Moro National Liberation Front or MNLF, particularly the faction led by founder Nur Miswari. The MNLF rejects the agreement between the government and the MILF, calling it a political charade. MNLF spokesperson Emmanuel Fontanilla says the group will continue its fight for independence through peaceful means. In September last year, hundreds of MNLF fighters tried to hoist their flag of independence in Zamboanga City, leading to a bloody 3-week standoff. Rehabilitation Secretary Ping Lacson says the government can't punish the contractors who built substandard bunkhouses for survivors of Typhoon Yolanda or Haiyan. At a briefing in Malacanang Monday, Lacson denies earlier reports the bunkhouses were overpriced but says some contractors did not follow specifications for the temporary houses. Public Works Secretary Rogelio Singson says the government cannot suspend these contractors, but it can ask them to make repairs. Withholding payment is the best punishment the government can legally do for now because Republic Act 9184 protects contractors from criminal charges by allowing them a 60-day period to make repairs. Lacson says he and Singson have discussed the possibility of doing away with the bunkhouses and instead give construction materials to victims who want to repair their old homes. Senator Miriam Santiago proposes an amendment to the Freedom of Information or FOI bill requiring public officials to disclose all the sources of their income. During her interpellation at the Senate Monday, Santiago alludes to the controversy over the so-called Christmas bonuses or additional maintenance and other operating expenses or MOOE that then Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile gave his favored colleagues in December 2012. Santiago was one of 4 Enrile critics who did not receive the additional funds. She said senators earn 1.5 million pesos a month with allowances and MOOE adding to their income.
Bakit ang yaman-yaman ng mga senador? Ang basic salary lang pala nila is 90,000 pesos a month. My chief of staff receives almost 80,000 pesos a month. Maniwala ka na 10,000 pesos only separates me from my chief of staff? Of course not. That's because I have so many other sources of legitimate income provided by my own agency. So let's let the public in. Let's allow the sunlight to penetrate these dark recesses.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
that
Vice.
people will know how much actually I'm receiving. And during election time, people will know whether a person with the qualifications of a certain candidate deserves to receive that kind of a salary.
Again,
But
that
anyway,
will
let's
shed
get
light on a
rid
lot
of
of
all
things.
these whispering and innuendos about the income of senators, congressmen, cabinet members, heads of government corporations. Even our Christmas bonuses. Let's call them bonuses instead of additional MOOE. That is mental dishonesty.
Santiago also asked Senator Grace Poe if the provisions of the FOI bill can be reconciled with the 1987 Constitution, the Data Privacy Act, and other laws. Santiago also proposes specifying information of public concern. Poe says these issues will be clarified in the period of amendments. The FOI bill aims to promote transparency by allowing access to government records. It is under deliberation in the Senate plenary and is expected to be passed in the chamber by March. Was local actor Vong Navarro attacked because he tried to rape a girl, or was he the victim of extortion? These 3 days after the story broke, primetime television and social media can't get enough of the two parties as they trade accusations. The actor and his lawyers deny allegations of attempted rape and insist a group of men set him up for extortion and brutally beat him. 22-year-old model Denise Cornejo claims Navarro tried to rape her in her own condominium. Her friends who allegedly came to her rescue say he was injured as they tried to subdue him and bring him to the police station. A police blotter report obtained by media supports Cornejo's version. The actor says the armed men threatened him with a gun and asked him to pay 1 million pesos. He also says he was videotaped and made to say that he raped a friend. Navarro says he was then taken to the police station where he signed the blotter that narrated the attempted rape. In a TV interview Sunday, the actor says, "I am not a rapist. I couldn't do that. I'm God-fearing." On Monday, Justice Secretary Leila de Lima says the incident merits an investigation. Ukraine's justice minister threatens to impose a state of emergency after protesters occupy the justice ministry. The opposition demands the president's resignation despite a power-sharing offer. The unrest in Kiev has turned into an all-out bid to oust President Viktor Yanukovych from power since 2 months ago over his rejection of a European Union pact. Tensions remain high in Kiev as protesters seized control of the Justice Ministry late Sunday, smashing windows and erecting barricades outside. On Saturday, Yanukovych offered his opponents government positions, but they reject the offer. Justice Minister Olena Lukash, who is taking part in negotiations between the opposition and Yanukovych, says she would ask for the talks to be broken off if the Justice Ministry is not freed. While the patent battle between Apple and Samsung continues, the South Korean tech giant announces a long-term cooperative partnership with Google. The agreement gives both companies access to each other's patent portfolios, including existing patents and succeeding ones, to be filed over the next 10 years. Google's smartphone operating system Android powers Samsung's line of Galaxy smartphones and tablets. Samsung says the partnership will pave the way for deeper collaboration on research and development. In a subtle dig at Apple, Samsung's Intellectual Property Center head says the tech industry will benefit more from working together. He says Samsung and Google are showing the rest of the industry that there is more to gain from cooperating than engaging in unnecessary patent disputes. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 3. A Thai opposition leader is shot dead on Sunday as protesters disrupt the advanced voting in Bangkok ahead of next weekend's controversial polls. Embattled Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra called the February 2 polls to calm rising political tensions after weeks of mass anti-government protests. Suthin Tharathin, a leader of the Dharma Army, was the 10th person to be killed during nearly 3 months of rallies. At number 6. The official news agency of North Korea says the relatives of Jang Song-taek, the once powerful slain uncle of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, have also been executed. Quoting multiple sources, Yonhap News reports those executed include Jang's sister, children, brothers-in-law, and nephews. News reports say they were recalled to Pyongyang in early December. And at number 10. Music celebrates its biggest night at the 2014 Grammy Awards in Los Angeles, California. French electro music duo Daft Punk wins the Record of the Year Grammy for their hit song Get Lucky. American singer Bruno Mars wins Best Pop Vocal Album for Unorthodox Jukebox. And 17-year-old Lorde wins Best Pop Solo Performance for Royals. Music's A-listers graced the event, including former Beatles Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, and music power couple Jay-Z and Beyoncé. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. In tennis, there is a new Grand Slam title holder. Switzerland's Stanislas Wawrinka wins the Australian Open Sunday against Rafael Nadal, who suffers from a back injury. This is Wawrinka's first major win and first win against world number 1 Nadal. The Swiss has never won a single set against Nadal prior to this match. Earlier in the tournament, Wawrinka eliminated Australian Open defending champion Novak Djokovic. Wawrinka says the Grand Slam title is one of the, quote, more emotional tournaments of his career. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page, which crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that got the most clicks. Today's mood navigator is much like TV news. A lot of the stories are related to Vong Navarro, with the different angles of the story involved. Police blotter says Vong Navarro tried to rape girl. 53% don't care, 17% of readers are annoyed. The DOJ says Vong Navarro case merits probe. 41% also don't care, 24% annoyed. And the story that got the most votes, Vong Navarro denies attempted rape allegation, 52% don't care, 14% angry. So they don't care, but they've read the stories and they've clicked on the mood navigator. So this all contributes to the mood of the day. Today, most people don't care. That's Rappler's newscast for today, Monday, January 27, 2014. Visit Rappler.com and watch your newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Ayi Macaraigan, as we say at Rappler. Tomorrow begins today.